So welcome back to another video on the French Property Guide channel. Now you join me today in the village of Le Bretignolles, which is in the north of the Mayenne. We're riverside and we're going to be looking at a village property. So we're going to be taking a look at a 3-bedroom house in the centre of the village. It's semi-detached and it's on the market for just €31,800. So an interesting fact about today's property. Now, as some of you know, I used to be an estate agent. And this property was actually once in my portfolio. So yes, I used to be the estate agent selling this house. So I do know the owner quite well, and he's agreed to let me come and film a video showing his property. And yeah, some things have changed since I had it on the market. The price has gone down a little bit, I believe. So yeah, it would be interesting to go back and take a look and yeah, basically show you, the audience, what you can get for this kind of money in rural France. So yes, just to clarify, I did want to say that I'm not the listing agent for the property. I'm no longer the estate agent. I'm not trying to sell you this house. Equally, I'm not going to be able to arrange viewings or answer inquiries about the property. There will be a link down in the description with more information about the property if you would like to arrange a viewing, if you're interested in purchasing the property. So here we are, the property is just behind me. I'm here with the owner, so yeah, without further ado, let's go and have a look around. We've got this nice little courtyard area at the front. There's also a little courtyard area at the back, as we'll see shortly. And yeah, really quite a charming little village property. So the owner was telling me, as we can see, the roof does look in quite good condition. It has been redone quite recently, sort of within the past 10 years, and at the back it's also been done with new crotchets. And yeah, so that's always important when looking at these kinds of properties, is to have a roof that's in good condition. Now, since this is a village property, it's also important to note that all the collectivities, so that means the drainage, electricity and water is connected to the property. So that's one less thing to worry about, having to install a new fosse septique and have the electricity wired up to the house. So yeah, that is definitely a plus. So welcome inside the property. So as you can see, the owners kept the original features in place. We have these beams here, and as well the beams on the ceiling, all original. If you did want to, you know, remove the paint, it would be quite easy. It just, you know, just needs sanding really, and that will show the original wood underneath. So yes, very similar to how I remembered. Here we've got the kitchen area. Through here we have the bathroom. And yeah, I suppose this would be the living area. Now, some of you may have noticed that there's a chimney on the outside, yet there is no fireplace inside. Well, it's just quite simply because this is plasterboard and behind that it's concealing the chimney. So if you wanted to restore it to its original state with the fireplace and everything, all you'd have to do is take down this plasterboard wall and it would, you know, uncover its original features. Another thing I really like about the property is that they've kept the granite walls, and they've done quite a nice job with the pointing, and yeah, it really does give the property some charm and character. So obviously you can imagine it would need a new kitchenette to sort of put in there, but yeah, that's something that the new owner can do in their own taste. So through here we have the bathroom, the downstairs bathroom. So we've got a toilet, and just to my left there, as you can see in the reflection in the mirror, there is the shower. So out the back of the house we've got this little courtyard area. Now, when I was last here at the property, this area actually had sort of a bit of a glass sort of roof going on. But because it was quite old, the owner decided to take it down, and it really does open up this space. Now, you could put what the French call a veranda on, which is basically a bit like a conservatory roof, and it would make quite a nice dining area, I think. So you could kind of reclaim a little bit of the outside, bring it inside. You'd have a lot of natural sunlight coming through from above, which would be great. And yeah, it's a really handy little space to have. You know, you can make it look really nice with different potted plants and yeah, a nice little area in addition to the main house. Okay, so let's go and take a look at the upstairs. So the staircase is original oak, and yeah, it's probably been here as long as the whole property has. So as we come upstairs, you can see the remnants of the old fireplace. So they used to have one on this floor, on the first floor, and one on the ground floor as well. So we've got a little bit of a corridor here, which obviously could all be opened up. None of these walls are load bearing. So yeah, we've got 3 quite decent sized rooms. There's the old sort of frame around the fireplace. So yeah, obviously it's in a little bit of a need of redecoration. However, you know, it's a nice space. So we've got a window facing the street towards the village. I'd say it's about 9 square meters, this room. Now on the ground floor, from memory, it's about 30 to 35 square meters. So multiply that roughly by about 11 and you'd get about 350 square feet of floor area on each floor. So the windows are double glazed. However, I do think they're quite old and probably could be you know, replaced. Probably be a good idea. The wood has started to warp a little bit, I think. Obviously the house hasn't been lived in for some time. However, the owner, who this isn't his main residence of course, he did used to rent this property out, so you know, it does need a little bit of redecoration, but it's got everything you need to live comfortably. Okay, so leaving this first bedroom, you find a second of about the same dimension, and it's also got a window looking out onto the village. Yeah, quite nice. Then moving on to the final bedroom, number 3. Probably a little bit smaller than the other 2. However, what you could probably do, if you was interested in doing so, is look at having an upstairs bathroom. So you could turn this into a 2-bedroom house and have a little bit of larger rooms, but have an upstairs bathroom, because obviously the plumbing is on this far side of the wall with the kitchen directly beneath, and just back that way in the other room is just directly above the current bathroom. Once again, the original beam running through here, this time left exposed. And yeah, so this is just plasterboard, so you could obviously knock that through and have the same sort of exposed granite walls if you wanted as downstairs, or you could obviously, you know, just give it a lick of paint, maybe a little bit of wallpaper. Obviously, maybe, you know, it's a little bit dated to some people. And yeah, you know, it's really a good blank canvas to do, you know, quite a nice little village home with. So the door behind me actually leads up to the attic, so I'll just go and get the torch and we'll go and take a look. But the roof looks in good condition. The beams are quite, you know, quite sturdy. They don't have any sort of woodworm damage. I can see from here on the main sort of A-frame structure. And yeah, we can see there the brick of the chimney running through this left side here. And yeah, small window over there. So yeah, the ceilings are quite high, so you could certainly look at converting this loft space. You could have a spare bedroom up here, maybe a games room or something like that, or an office, always handy. So another thing that I like about this property is the original tiles that we can see on the floor, these red sort of terracotta tiles. They do give quite a nice bit of authenticity and a bit of rustic charm to this property. There's certainly a lot to work with here. It's not too big of a project, which is always good for first-time buyers in a foreign country. So yeah, in the kitchen area here, I'd say it's probably about 2.5 meters, by about the same sort of dimensions. And you've got this nice little sort of countertop bar area here. So you could have this maybe as a bit of a breakfast bar. So yeah, there's lots of opportunities and different things you can do with this kind of property. it's a real good solid foundation to build upon. So in terms of the ceilings, you know, they're not the highest, but you know, I'm about 6'2", and it's perfectly comfortable for me in here. You know, don't have to worry about ducking. Upstairs they seem a little bit higher actually, the ceilings. So yeah. So this area at the back, you know, it'd make a really nice, I think, dining room area in addition to the main house. You know, you could sort of have your living room through here. Obviously you've got the kitchen, you've got a downstairs bathroom. You know, maybe I would probably consider the bathroom off of the kitchen to be a bit of a strange choice. But you know, at the end of the day, with these kinds of properties, you can always sort of make them in your own sort of vision. So if you wanted to move the bathroom upstairs, for instance, you could easily do that. You know, it'd just be a case of running the pipes up from the same place, and yeah, you could either potentially get rid of the bathroom at all, but I'm sure for some people they won't mind too much, and you know, you could always change the door from one side of, you know, the bathroom sort of away from the kitchen and move it sort of more to the sort of access as you come in from the front door. So yeah, there's lots of interesting possibilities that you can do with this kind of property. So you could come out here in the morning with a cup of coffee, a fresh croissant from the local bakery, and really enjoy your life in rural France. Now, as some of you may have noticed, there's no electricity in the house currently. Everything's wired up. It's just that of course, obviously, to avoid an electricity bill, the owners had EDF turn the switch off. So if you wanted to reinstate the electricity, it'd be a simple case of just calling EDF, and that applies for the water as well. And as mentioned, in terms of the drainage, we're on mains drainage, so you don't have to worry about having a fosse septique or anything like that installed. So as we've already talked about, we've got the chimney there, which is currently not being used, and the slate roof, which is really good. Slate, you know, it's really durable. It can easily last over 100 years, and yeah, a solid foundation. Okay, so that was quite interesting, wasn't it, to have a look inside this. I'm going to guess it's probably from about between the 17th and the 19th, early 19th century, this property. So there's a good couple hundred years of history here. And yeah, all that for just 30,000 euros. Not a bad deal. So as regards to parking, now obviously there's no real direct street parking in front of the property. There is the church there, and there's some parking spaces over there, and I'm not sure if it's still available, but the owner did have a plot of land for sale in the village, so you could have an extra garden basically with the house. So yeah, I'll just go and ask him about that and see if it's still available. So I was just talking to the owner, and unfortunately the plot of land that he had for sale in the village has now sold. However, what you could do for parking is basically take out the hedge that was there and use that area as parking. If not, you can park quite closely. As you can see, the church is probably about 50 meters away from the house. So yeah, there's certainly lots of different possibilities that you could do with that front area. And yeah, it would be a really interesting project to take on that house. As he was telling me, the owner, you know, there's the roof's, you know, it's in good condition. It doesn't need redoing. There's no major work that really needs doing. Obviously, the windows would need replacing. A little bit of redecoration inside. You know, maybe you could reconfigure the bathroom and put in a new kitchen. But basically, in my opinion, most of the work would consist of basically knocking through the plasterboards, re-excavating the chimney, the fireplace, le cheminée, as it's called in French. And yeah, there's certainly a lot of charm and character in that house. And there's even more hidden behind the plasterboard. So, you know, if you could take that down and set up a nice little wood burner in there, it'd certainly make the house very cosy and very inviting. So if you watched my previous video, we was in the village of Lassay-les-Châteaux. It's actually less than 5 minutes drive from Le Rousseau-Bretignolles, where we are today. So yeah, even though there's no bakery or anything here in the village, you're really close. You know, you could do it by bike in probably under 15 minutes. Or by car in less than 5, and you've got several bakeries. So you might have noticed that we're in front of a different church. We are now in the neighbouring village of Bretignolles-le-Moulin, which is actually in the same commune as Le Housseau. In fact, in the year 1832, the two villages merged together to form one commune and one village called Le Housseau-Bretignolles. Bretignolles-le-Moulin, which we're now in, is actually much smaller than Le Housseau, where we were before. So yeah, two quite small villages coming together to make one village. It kind of made sense, really. In the same year, 1832, the commune actually left the Orne, which it was previously part of, which is in Normandy, and it joined the Mayenne department, which is in Pays de la Loire. So the commune actually switched regions. So another interesting fact, the etymology of the word Le Housseau comes from the French word hou, which in English means holly. So, you know, many years ago there must have been lots of holly plants and bushes growing in the area, so it got the name. Bretignolles, however, is a little bit more interesting. Now, the name Bretignolles comes from the word Britain in English, meaning the ancient Britons of Great Britain, not the Bretons of Brittany, which is quite interesting actually. Now, legend has it that in the year probably 400 to 500 AD, ancient Britons who were fleeing Great Britain following the invasion of the Anglo-Saxons, who arrived from what's nowadays the Netherlands and northern Germany, even the southern part of Denmark as well, arrived in the island of Great Britain, and yeah, there was some conflict with the local population. A group of those Britons fled Great Britain and came and settled here and sort of set up their own community, their own sort of colony in the what was once Normandy countryside, which is now countryside in the Mayenne. So yes, the Anglo-Saxon people who arrived in Great Britain gives us the name England, Angle land, England, and it also gives us the English language, of course. So yeah, that's a little bit of a history lesson about the local area. So that's it for today's video. If you enjoyed the video, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe if you want to see more content like this in the future. Have a good one. See you next time.